So I am opening the week of Luminous Legends here on my channel. Hi, hello. If you don't know what this video is about, I usually do a week of whatever palette I have gotten from Pat McGrath Labs. It's a little bit of like a deep dive. A lot of people will do 5 looks in one video. I don't have that kind of time, so I will just do 5 consecutive or like 5 consecutive-ish looks with the Mega palette by Pat McGrath Labs in Luminous Legends. Now, I kept calling it Mega Mothership in my original video, and then I went back to like check the actual name of the palette when I was uploading the video, and I figured that she's not actually calling this one a Mega Mothership. It is just called the Mega Eyeshadow palette. So the palette in question, just in case it wasn't clear, is this one. This is the new Luminous Legends palette by Pat McGrath Labs for Holiday 2024, and it is an eyeshadow palette of 15 eyeshadows with her Quint formula, so made in Italy. Don't worry, I'm not going to give all of these details in each and every video. This is just the intro video so that people have some idea what's going on here, and then if for the rest of the week I'm just going to jump into each of the looks, and then in the final video I'm going to actually give you like my full rounded review of this palette. Now, I have already applied my base makeup. I have eyeshadow primer on, but I have not put blush, bronzer, highlighter, that kind of thing, because I thought it might be fun to do that together. So that is exactly what I'm going to start with. I'm going to take Pat McGrath Labs Bronze Mahogany for my bronzer today. And you can probably tell just by looking at the color of my shirt which eyeshadow we're going to use today, or at least one of the eyeshadows that we're going to use today, because that shade just fits so perfectly with my shirt today. For my blush, I'm going to take Rosy Beige by Gucci, going of course for somewhat more, you know, cooler-ish type tones, because I think the look is going to be quite much cooler today than for my opening video. And as you will see, I am stamping this blush and I'm not really blending it out too much, because Rosy Beige has the habit of becoming very pink if I start to really work it into the skin. So I really prefer to like stamp it onto the skin like this, so that it retains this beautiful like nude rosy tone. And finally, for my highlighter, I'm actually going to show you something new. I picked up one of the new Gucci highlighters. I'm not really sure how these are called. The Gucci Glow Highlighter, and the shade that I picked up is 04 Pink Opal. No, Opal Pink. And I was of course very influenced by Charlotte H. She got this highlighter and really raved about it, and when she swatched it, it seemed a lot like a rose gold type shade. Now I have to say, on me this is much more of a rosy shade, and on my cheekbones it tends to pull quite cooler in terms of its tone. In terms of the formula, I have to say this is really smooth. It's not a baked formula, but it's still a very smooth powder formula, which looks really flattering on the skin. I haven't noticed it accentuating texture. I took this with me to Paris because I wanted to test it out there, and except for the fact that I think it's just not quite my favorite kind of tone of highlighter, I did enjoy it. Overall, I have to say this is a rather mediocre product, because the packaging is not super weighty. I mean, it's not super lightweight, but if you compare it to something like the blushes, for example, I feel like the blushes have much more, you know, there's so much more detail and love that has gone into the making of the packaging of that product. Whereas with the highlighter, I'm just left with the feeling that in every single aspect, it's just a little bit mediocre, especially given the price. I can't remember what the price of this is, but let's say that it's at least something in the ballpark of 60 euros. Now, I had a gift card and some codes that I had stacked up, so I purchased it for a total of like 25-ish euros, which is pretty much okay for me. But I don't necessarily think that this is a must. It's not one of the highlighters that I would recommend that you go and buy, you know, out of the new highlighters that have been released. I personally think I prefer somewhat the Lancome highlighter, not because of the formula. I think the formula is rather comparable between the two. At least on my skin they perform rather similarly, but more so because this specific tone is just a little bit too maybe frosty on my skin. It's not the worst, but I would have preferred if there was a little bit more warmth in here. I mean, it fits perfectly for the look that I'm going for today, but I just had a different expectation, and I'm a little bit disappointed by the packaging, because I know Gucci can do so much better when it comes to their packaging. So when it comes to this highlighter, I would say not necessarily a regret, but definitely not a product that I will wholeheartedly recommend, and I would overall describe as just extremely mediocre. I'm going to set the powders on my face with a little bit of Fix Plus by MAC before we jump into the exciting portion of this video, which will be, of course, the eye look with Luminous Legends. So theoretically, I would like to just put something like a neutral brown through my crease. This is a beautiful neutral brown, slightly deep in tone. This is a little bit too rosy. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I can mix these two here to create a somewhat more appropriate like crease shade. And then I'm going to use this one to deepen out my outer corners. So those are the shades Sun-Kissed Rose, the lighter rosy shade, and the deep brown is Sable Seductress. And because I think that deep brown shade is going to be quite dark, I'm going to go in with the lightest touch of the brush on my skin, just so I don't over apply. And then I'm going to start applying here in the outer portion of the eye and blending into the crease. This actually worked quite nicely. And I have switched up my eye primer now because I noticed that my depotted Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion, because it's depotted in a different container, was starting to dry out and it was making my eyelids really dry. And it was just, I actually messing with the way eyeshadows are applying, especially matte eyeshadows, had started to apply really weirdly over top of that primer. So I just ditched it and I've now opened a new tube of my Inglot Eyeshadow Keeper. This has been my one of my favorite eyeshadow bases in the past couple of years. I did enjoy the Urban Decay primer potion, but I think the Inglot one is really good and it is cheaper. I think I maybe applied a little bit more over here than on this side. On this side I did it a little bit better. I'm going to just slightly build up the brown shade here in the outer portion of the eye, and it would probably be better if I picked up a smaller brush for that, but I'm just too lazy for it. So I'm just going to use this brush and try to be really careful, just kind of gently applying the shade and then blending it out. And I'm cleaning off my brush first before I start blending out, just so I don't bring this dark color way up into my crease. I have to say I'm really enjoying the tone of that Sable Seductress shade because it is such a beautiful, like, neutral deep brown shade. Really lovely. I'm now going to take a somewhat smaller blending brush and I'm once again going to dip back and forth between the two shades because I just want to apply both of them also on my lower lashes, so we can be done with that. Time for some fun metallics. Before that though, I'm going to apply just a little bit of glitter glue, just so everyone sticks and stays on my eyelids well and doesn't crease. So I'm just taking a little bit like this on the back of my hand. I'm going to smoosh it around with my finger and then gently dab onto the inner portion of the lid and a little bit over top of the brown. Then for the fun part, on my lids I'm actually going to apply a little bit of Lunar Luxury, and this was something with a mist in it. Moonlit Mist, this beautiful light blue shade. I think they're going to look so stunning next to each other and perfectly going to fit with my shirt. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of Lunar Luxury. Again, taking just a few flakes. I cannot stress enough how careful you need to be when you're applying these eyeshadows because they are so impactful with just a few flakes. You take a few flakes and then you basically like work them onto your skin. You saw how little I had on my brush and how more than enough that was in order to apply Lunar Luxury. So I will keep stressing and emphasizing how important it is if you're going to use this formula to use less, because you're going to be so much happier with what goes on your eyelids and how your eyelids look. I think I think someone commented on one of my previous videos that you didn't really like this formula because it looks too thick, too chunky and unflattering on mature lids. And while that may be true, I think it's also partially user error. I think a lot of other people on YouTube are just going really ham on these eyeshadows and then they're going to bunch up for sure. And then I'm going to go in with the beautiful blue shade, and I'm going to apply that in the inner portion of the lid, and I'm actually going to also shove that in my inner corner as like a fun pop of color. This is such a pretty eyeshadow. I really like this. I thought yesterday when I was watching the eyeshadows that I missed a comparison swatch for this eyeshadow together with the one from one of the Star Wars queens, and I am going to swatch these side by side in a second, but I'm pretty sure this one is lighter in tone. They are similar-ish. This is a very pretty shade. I really like this blue. This is going to be so much fun for layering, but also just on its own as an inner corner pop of blue. I love it. Definitely this is going to be one of my favorite shades in this palette, I can guarantee you that. And I think these two look so pretty together. Now, before I forget, let's do the comparison swatch with the shade from the Divine Droid Quid. So the shade in question is Secret Blueprint, and is this one here. And I want to compare that to the shade that something with mist, Moonlit Mist. At some point I'm going to remember it. So here we have Divine Droid, and this is Moonlit Mist. Divine Droid and Moonlit Mist. Huh, interesting. They swatch rather similarly. Why did I think that they were going to be different? Okay, I still think this is a little bit lighter in tone. I feel like when I apply this eyeshadow, I'm getting just a little bit more depth from the color. They are rather similar though. I would say they're like a, you know, gradation of the same hue, with the one in the new palette being just slightly lighter in tone, and I feel like more sparkly. I think there's glitter in here, whereas this one is more like a smooth metallic finish. A little sparkle moment, of course, because we love that. So this actually comes so much closer into the vicinity of what I was hoping to achieve yesterday with my look, which is why today I finally have Decade on. You can tell that I've had Velvet Decade from Lisa Eldridge on my mind, because it is basically Sable Seductress and Bronze Mahogany, but then in a lipstick form. I cannot even begin to tell you how much I like this look. It is so pretty. I've been a fan of Lunar Luxury since its release a couple of years ago, so that's the shade here, the beautiful taupey silver. This is an exceptional eyeshadow. It remains an exceptional eyeshadow. I love the tone of this light blue because it has that beautiful ethereal quality to it. It's sparkly, it's not too dark. You can definitely use this as a topper. I actually think it would look really pretty if you dab a little bit of that over top of Lunar Luxury. So I think it can definitely serve to transform other shades. I was very surprised. I went into this thinking I don't really know how Lunar Luxury is going to work with Sable Seductress. I was low-key, you know, disappointed that I can't go into Bronze Bliss to get the charcoal gray matte black shade that is in there, which I thought would fit much better with this look. But now that I have the look on, I actually think that the tone of Sable Seductress being so neutral works really well with Lunar Luxury, and I absolutely love the combination of the three shades. It's a fairly simple look, right? It's just 3 eyeshadows, but it looks so pretty. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this first look as much as I did. This is by far my favorite look. Let's see if it will remain my favorite look for the rest of the week, but so far it is definitely up there. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this look in the comment section below, and we will see each other again very soon for look number 2 with the Luminous Legends Mega Palette. Bye!